Good afternoon, everyone. It's December 8th. This is Liam McMahon, and you are in the GlobalFXClub.com weekend webinar. Thank you very much for joining me. Please take a moment to read over the risk disclaimer, which should now be on your screen, and then we will get started. All right, so to the charts then, like I said, Aussie, we do have a small gap here, up to 91.21, so you can see we are really just at trend line here. You can't actually see the gap because of the trend line, so this is where we're sitting. So we did gap slightly above that trend line. Obviously, 91.21, if we dip into that area, could be a nice opportunity for a low risk long. You could take a long with like a 25 pip stop. You're looking really for a move up into 92, 93 even. Alright, so I've been talking about Aussie longs for a while. Posted one setup, got taken out at break even on this spike down, but I still like it higher. We held this 1618 extension very well. Showed some pretty significant RSI divergence that we're now starting to burn higher through. In general, medium to long term, I am somewhat bearish the Australian dollar. Actually, I'm more than somewhat. I'm somewhat bearish the Australian dollar. I do think we will see more selling pressure. Okay, I think we have some pretty solid resistance up in this level. That is about 92.40, 92.50. That's the big selling level, I think, for the Australian dollar. If we look at some major previous levels. Alright, this area down here, or well, no, up here, is a pretty nice confluence right in this 92.60 area. 200 period EMA on the 4-hour chart, major descending trend line, a major previous, a minor swing low from back in November. So I do think we have some upside left for the Aussie, but once we start to get up into 92.50 to 93, I will be starting to look to sell, depending on what's going on. We saw on Friday, we saw dollar pairs dip. We saw the dollar strengthen aggressively across the board, and then quickly lose that luster. All right, so we have these kind of major reversal candles here on Aussie coming off 90. It's not a reversal candle on Euro, but it's a pretty bullish candle. Okay. Get rid of that. Okay, this candle here, we dipped down into this support level basically almost perfectly, rallied off of it. Now we're continuing higher. For me on Euro, I'm bullish now. I was bearish down here. I was bearish up through here, and then I had to start flipping once we started consolidating here. When we broke that 618, it looked like we're going to continue to squeeze higher. I still like selling the Euro, but I'm looking at 138.30, these previous highs now. I'll show you why I've had to change my bias. Okay, this is that 618 fib. Alright, we held it so well here. We held it twice. Well, two different times. We held it really well up here, sold off, couldn't break lower. We held it here, we sold off and couldn't break lower. Once the pair failed to clear this 200 period EMA on the 4-hour chart on that strong jobs data, and you saw it just reverse higher, it's got to be picking up some stops now. Looking for, like I said, a continued move up to this 138.31 figure. If we click out to the daily chart, okay, you can kind of see the significance of that level. So that is something to keep an eye. I mean, if you do take into account 78.6 fibs, that's where we're at right now. I don't love them. I don't find that they work particularly well, but that is the last resistance level that you could keep an eye on for Euro. I wouldn't necessarily buy Euro here. I think the short-term setup for a Euro long would be a pullback down towards about 136.80 or so. All right, there's some support there that we haven't retested of this little miniature flag break, so could look for some support in that area. So that's Aussie, that's Euro. Kiwi right up against our line resistance, very low risk short here. You can see we're pretty close to 100% fib expansion as well. So that's a nice low risk trade here. If we do out of this trend line, all right, I like it to the upside. But for right now, play the level that holds. So we'll see how that plays out. That's about the major. Probably 83 would be a good line in the sand. If price manages to hold low 83, we'll probably head lower, but once we clear that 83, if we do put in a 4-hour close, we'll probably see some shorts give up. The pair should start to push itself a little bit higher. Pound dollar. Pound dollar to me looks pretty bullish. A little bit of consolidation going on here. I would love to see this consolidation continue, all right, and then try to play an eventual breakout. I'd obviously like to see 2 or even 3 more touches on this flag to really give some oomph. Something like this, basically, maybe a little 50% fib off of here. All right, and then higher. So I do like pound dollar higher, not here, but in general, be watching that consolidation pretty carefully. Sorry. Dollar CAD, one of the first times in a long time that I'm actually a little bearish dollar CAD. Okay, we have significant RSI divergence. We have a wedge break here. All right, so 106.70 stops or so, about 25 pips. Looking for a move down, really only 105.5, maybe 90 pips. Not looking for anything aggressive here. I'm pretty bullish this pair, long, medium, and long term, but short term it looks like we could see a little bit of a sag lower. Dollar yen, okay. Next major resistance level for dollar yen are these previous highs here. That's 103.38. We'll see exactly how that plays out. To me, dollar yen not super clear. Looks like a flag break here. Probably see new highs, but I have other yen pairs that I vastly prefer. For example, euro yen. Looking for a selling opportunity on euro yen at 141.76. That's the 1618 expansion. All right, from this move from starting at 131.20 and going up to 136 or so. 136. So looking for that to wrap up. We have some RSI divergence going on here. It's not highlighted on my chart anymore, but there is some there. We'll see exactly how it looks. If we get up there, we'll see if we get some sort of reversal candle, but 141.76 is the level I'm looking at for euro yen, about 60 pips higher. If we get 60 pips higher on euro dollar, we're pretty close to that 138 level, so we could see maybe some confluence there, depending on how. Jason, are you talking euro yen? Yeah. Yeah, it's a major resistance area on the, I don't even know if I have a big enough time frame. Yeah, I don't. But yeah, it is at a very significant technical level on, multi-year time frames. So I'm not in a hurry to short it, but I am keeping an eye out for a possibility to do so at about just shy of 142. Because I figure there, you got a pretty great risk-reward ratio. You could take a 50-pip stop, and your first target would be basically this 140 swing high. All right, so you get a 200-pip first target. So really not a bad risk-reward ratio there. Aussie yen actually might be in a very interesting technical place here. Again, it gapped higher. The Chinese trade data better than expected. Yeah, it's actually gapping right into its trend line as well. You can see we're actually slightly above it. So that's another one to watch for a gap fill long possibility. Let me precise this trend line a little bit. Okay, so Aussie yen's another one to watch for a gap fill possibility, and it would be a little bit reliant on Aussie dollar continuing to rally. Yen is at resistance. Okay, if you feel the overwhelming need to short a yen pair, CAD yen's probably your best bet. I don't feel that urge, and I won't be acting on it, but it is sitting right at a pretty decent resistance level right now. So that's CAD yen. Pound yen, also a beast. Same deal here. Next major resistance, previous highs at 169.12. Do I think euro dollar will drop this week? Not necessarily. No, that's not my initial bias. If we get up towards 138, I might start to think it drops from there, but as of right now, no, I don't think it's going to drop this week. I think it's pretty well set to continue to squeeze higher. AJ, possible short squeeze, I would agree with that. If we do manage to see these 94.20 or so level taken out, that would initiate a short squeeze. The problem is that we might need it to take a break first, so maybe look for a breakout retest long. But I think there is pretty decent upside potential here on Aussie Yen. Let's take a look at Kiwi Yen. Kiwi Yen's pretty awful. I don't have a great sense of this. You can see it's leading a little bit, breaking above these previous highs here, 84.93, but really not no really great particular setup on this. Let's take a look at some of the Aussie crosses. I gotta go to the daily chart for these. Okay, so Euro Aussie, this is a 2 candlestick pattern, the double dojis at a major high. I don't remember what it's called. Someone of you might, but it is a potential reversal pattern. That's worth watching. We're at 150.33 right now, so your high, you need to be about 140 pips short if you want to just short against new highs. That's not my style, but it's not a terrible play. If you drop your leverage down to like maybe a fifth of what you usually trade, you can have pretty aggressive targets. Your first target would probably be 146. Okay, so that's 400 pips. So again, just shy of a 4-to-1. So not a terrible trade. You could even actually give yourself a little bit better odds and wait for these previous lows to break. So wait for a break below 150 and short it. That would probably confirm a little bit what we're seeing here with the RSI. That would be coming out of overbought, so there'd be some confluence there with an indicator if that's what your thing is. Yeah, thank you, Vin. Tweezer tops. That's exactly right. So that is something to definitely keep an eye on. I don't know the numbers on tweezer tops as to how reliable they are, but you know, I can see it in the crosshairs. All right, so look at Euro Aussie. I can see Aussie dollar squeezing higher here, not without too much. I can see that without too much of a problem, and I can see the euro start to run out of steam, not that much higher. So you know what? There is some potential here for Euro Aussie to work its way to the downside. Pound Aussie, another one here. I think this Pound Aussie actually had a pretty decent weekly candle. Yeah, okay, so that's a Pound Aussie weekly candle. That's not a great candle if you're bullish. It could have been worse. It still finished green, but that's not super promising. We're at 179.19 right now, so another one where you need about a 200 pip stop. Your first target would be 175, which is about 400. So again, 2-to-1. If you're willing to trade these huge stops, that's fine. There are a lot of people who do that very successfully. Just make sure that you have your leverage figured out, so you don't take an 8% loss on your account because you have that big of a stop. So like I'm saying, basically the theme across the board. Here's Aussie CAD. There's some pretty decent potential here on Aussie CAD. Okay, if we break out of this, what I'm saying is that I see the room for Aussie to start to a little bit of a squeeze across the board. That might be best played in Aussie dollar and Aussie yen, but the Euro Aussie Pound Aussie pair should not be discounted. Kiwi is a mess. Let me clear up some of this. Okay, it's not great. Basically looking for something like this. See if that plays out in that pennant, and then maybe try to play a breakout. But until then, it's actually really well supported at 164. All right, it's actually really good support. So that's about 130 pips lower. So you could keep an eye out on that for potential long. But for the most part, I think I'm going to stay away from Euro Kiwi for a while. It's not nearly as clean as its Aussie counterparts. Ditto Pound Kiwi. I mean, Pound Kiwi looks like this is just a correction before higher. Maybe looking at a move down towards 195, but same thing. The Kiwi pairs are notoriously choppy, and we may see these guys really start to fire lower, especially if Kiwi clears that Kiwi dollar clears that trend line. So kind of wary to do anything with these, but if you want a low risk long, it's about 194.75. Decent support at that level, 50 pip stop, 200 pip target. If we get down there this week, that's something to keep an eye on Kiwi. Sounds good, Jason. Sorry about the lagging. Dollar Swiss. So I tweeted Dollar Swiss over the weekend. It's on my radar. It's one of the few dollar pairs that I can actually make a pretty clear bullish case for. Bullish dollar, in this case also bullish Dollar Swiss. So we have some RSI divergence here, and we're nearing this major bottom here at around 89, major recent low at around 89. So I'm not buying it yet, but I'm watching it. What I would really like to see is a 4-hour daily candle that basically something like this candle here, all right? One of these major hammer type candles that suggests that made a lot of buying pressure stepped in at 89. So I'm looking for a green candle here on Dollar Swiss for a potential long. I mean, we're at 89.14 right now, so I'm looking for this 89 to 88.90 area really to hold up, and then to try to get long. But until I see one of those candles, I'm not gonna force anything on Dollar Swiss. But it is near the top of my watch list. Some of the other ones then would, again, so that suggests that we may see Aussie Swiss a little bit to the upside here. If Dollar Swiss holds up near support and Aussie dollar rallies, that pushes Aussie Swiss higher. So there's some ones too. Sorry, that's not good. CAD Swiss, kind of dollar CAD lower, US dollar Swiss higher. That would give us CAD Swiss higher. This one has way less clear of a setup though. So there's some potential on Swiss pairs, but I haven't seen anything I really want to jump on yet. E-minis. Let's go to the daily chart. Daily chart of E-minis. Friday kind of ruined some bearish setups. Well, they didn't ruin the bearish setups, but they made them less good. First major support's this trend line. First major resistance is the top of this type wedge pattern here. Okay, it's another one that's, you know, it's been wedging on and off for forever now. So really 1815 basically is support, and 1800 is resistance. Or sorry, 1815 is resistance, 1800 is support. So kind of keep your eye on that for breaks. I don't like trading E-minis lately. Has not been very clean. The Nikkei. Nikkei, on the other hand, has been very nice. This is almost a bullish engulfing candle on Nikkei. So we'll see, maybe we'll get back up and actually touch that 16,000 high that we just fell short of. And then we'll see whether or not we get a reversal from there, or if we break through it. So definitely worth watching Nikkei, because what Nikkei does, dollar yen does. So keep your eye on those. You can see the very similar candle structure here between the two assets. I like Aussie CAD, like Jason said, Aussie CAD is his favorite. I do like Aussie CAD if we can clear that trend line. Kiwi CAD, I hate. Well, I don't actually hate it that much. Kiwi CAD is pretty decent long from here. Breakout out of this range. This is about what? This range gives us about 90 targets. All right, it's about 200 pips from here. So there's some potential there for CAD, but it's really not nearly as clear as I would like it to be. I think there are better trades out there. I think Aussie CAD, for example, is much cleaner than Kiwi CAD. Let's do gold, silver, oil real quick. Gold, it's kind of trying to base here around 1200. You can see lots of wicks coming up from that, just above that 1200 figure. Really needs to get above 1260. We could start to see some upside there, but until then, it's hard to think we're going to break the downtrend. Silver is somewhat similar, except for the numbers about $20.25, $20.25. Maybe see a breakout here again, just above these 1817 lows. Corn, crude. Crude accelerate. This is what I'm looking for gold to do. Okay, you can see crude kind of held up for a little bit, and then it broke above the major resistance level and picked up some stops along the way. Alright, so I like crude to the upside. I think we could see a push higher here. We're at some major resistance right now here on the daily chart, the 200-day EMA, the 100-day EMA, etc. But I'm looking for 95.54 to hold as support. Looking for maybe even a squeeze up towards this 105 figure. Alright, we'll see if that's how it plays out. The commodity's been beaten up a little bit, but it held up pretty well, and it seems to have started to just push itself higher. So we may see some further crude strength this week. Major events this week: RBNZ, a couple Chinese data, a couple Chinese things, HSBC PMIs this week, but in general, kind of a quieter week than we had last week. Obviously, last week is about as busy as it gets. All right, so any requests? Anything that I missed that you would like me to take a look at? Aussie Kiwi, all right. Alright, so Aussie Kiwi, if I'm waiting for this pair to bounce and it just won't do it, basically if we can break above this trend line, I'd be tempted, but really I want to see it play out this way. I want to see it get above this level, alright, 112 or so. If we can break back above 112, we could actually start to push a little bit higher. But really, until that point, I don't have a great interest in buying it, and it's hard to sell it here. You could sell it against that 112 figure, all right? But then you kind of have this trend line break. It's just not, I mean, there's not a lot of opportunities here. The opportunities were to try to get short up here or try to get short on a break below here. So basically at this daily close at about 111.72, that would have been the opportunity. From here, I mean, you can try to take some low-risk longs if we break the trend line, and then eventually if we get above 112. But other than that, Aussie Kiwi has been on my back burner for quite some time. Alright, dollar, Swedish, whatever, krona. Okay, 6.8% test, rallied, and then fell back again. Not a great candle for the dollar on the NFPs. Oops, that's not what I want. Okay. So, I mean, I can make an argument for dollar sec longs here off of this 6.18% fib, so you can just put your stop at like 6.45 and look for a rally higher. But I don't love it. All right, it looks a little bit like it might just drift sideways to me. I just don't think it's that clear. Norway is a little bit better. This is USD NOK. We have a pretty clear trend line here. If we get above 6.2, we could continue to see it push higher. So that one's a little bit better. A couple nasty daily candles here at back-to-back days on NOK. We are also this week. I think it's this week. It's either the 13th or the 16th. I need to check. The Riksbank, the Swedish central bank, will be making its rate decision. There are speculations that they will be cutting rates. So watch out for that if you're trading the Scandinavian currencies this week. It might be the 16th, which I think would be Sunday. But I want to think it's the 13th, which is like Friday. So either way, I'll make sure I'll talk about it over my Twitter feed. But if you're trading Scandies this week, you got to know when that is, because either way, there's going to be a lot of volatility surrounding that move. We can see this pair move real aggressively, all right, real quickly. You can see lots of big daily candles here, so you want to be real cautious about that. I don't know enough to say with confidence whether or not I think they're going to cut or not. I think there's a possibility, but we'll have to kind of see. EuroCAD. Pair's been stubborn too, hasn't it? I mean, your first opportunity would be a long against 144.67, so a pull back towards that. But really, I mean, if you're going to trade the Euro crosses, EuroCAD's my least favorite. I think Euro Dollar better if we get a retest. I like Euro Yen to sell on a rally. So, wow, Euro Yen's already up 0.25% today, which probably means dollar yen's been catching a bid. Yeah, dollar yen's up 0.25% as well. Nikkei futures are not open yet. Oh, they're open a little bit, up a little bit. So you can see Euro and yen catching a little bit of a bid. Copper, for those of you that trade it, nice candle here off of resistance on Friday, worth just being aware of. Copper tends to be a good forecaster of general market strength, so we'll see if it manages to hold up going through the week. Any other requests? Sometimes people like when I talk about the peso. Okay, the peso is at some pretty terrific support here. The flip side of that is if we break this 200-day and break this trend line, so say 12.86, whatever, we could start to see some liquidation of this pair, and it could really drop. But, you know, right now, the pair's at a pretty decent support level, trading in a pretty clean triangle, so you don't even have to deal with it. You can just play a breakout in either direction when we get it. So that is the peso. That's about it. Any other questions? Pairs that I missed that you would like me to talk about? You mean right now, or that's what I'm saying? Yeah, so that was a very strange reaction on Friday. I mean, it was a classic reaction from NFPs. NFPs' initial reaction tends to get faded, not that hard or that quickly, but we saw initial dollar strength get faded, which fits with what we usually see. The thing is that was a really, actually, genuinely strong NFP report, and it really did to a lot of minds, including some people who are pretty in tune with what the Fed is thinking. It tipped the scales a little bit more in favor of actually seeing a taper in December, but we saw the dollar sell off. I'm not sure. I don't know. Or maybe the taper has been priced in, and we'll see a relief rally from on dollar-denominated assets when we see the taper finally happen. Or maybe, yeah, people think that no matter what, we're not done yet. So, I don't know. I don't exactly know what's going on fundamentally for this week in terms of how that reaction played out. So, really just going to have to play the technical levels. Well, yeah, that's the other thing, is it is the end of the year, all right? End of the quarter, end of the year. So, it's December. You get weird price action. We're at December 8th, so we have a full week of trading before we get to the holidays. This week and next week, all right? So 2 full weeks of trading. So we may see some firms start to balance out some of their positions, all right? If we have a lot of people aggressively long the dollar, we may see them start to cover, especially ahead of that Fed meeting, really long the dollar just from a macro perspective. Like, let's say you're a hedge fund or a major bank or a major corporation, you've been holding a lot of dollars. I don't think you want to go into next week's FOMC meeting with all of them. All right, so we may see some balancing here going into the next couple weeks, and that may be some of what we're seeing. All right, we saw the dollar strengthen, and people jumped in to take advantage of it to start to get rid of some of their dollar holdings. I think that's a possibility. So for me, this week, next week, for me, for the rest of December, I'm going to do my best to forget about the fundamentals, at least until we see the December taper decision, and I'm just going to play the technical levels. And right now, mostly the technical levels are pointing to a lower dollar, except for against Kiwi and Yen. And Kiwi, we're not that far away from it pointing to lower dollar. So we'll see. We may see a nasty reversal some point this week when everyone piles back into the dollar, and if that's the case, I'll readjust. But for now, that's where I stand. All right, good question. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns? All right, I'm going to wrap it up as usual, and as always, thank you very much for joining me. Remember, you can find me on Twitter, there, and then there. So, if you have questions or whatever during the week, please feel free to shoot me a message on Twitter. Always happy to chat with you there. But thank you very much for joining me. Very much appreciated. Good luck trading this week. Should be an interesting week. We'll see if this dollar sell-off gets some follow-through or if we finally see fundamentals make more sense. All right. So enjoy your Sunday. What's left of it, guys? If you still have some left, enjoy football if you're in the U.S. And then if not, enjoy your trading week, and I'll talk to you soon.